how do you end up deciding who you would want to support? I mean, we have a situation here where now someone in authority is saying that if we pay people excessively, or if people are not managing their organization efficiently, it really sort of questions whether or not you should be supporting them. And I think this is somewhat arbitrary. But how would you feel about that? When you're looking at evaluating the not-for-profit that you feel comfortable supporting, how important are these parameters for you?
Probably not that important. Not to me. It's more about what it does for the community where I live is what it's all about, because I'm more regional. So my decision would be based on that. The people I know in the organization, what it does for people I know and for the community I'm involved with.
From our perspective, being at PepsiCo, you know, I don't know if I could speak to that exact point, but I think, you know, for us, we're very generous in our community. We're very generous on a global scale, and it's actually unfortunate that the nonprofit space is the first to kind of get focused on. But you know, for us, I think it probably wouldn't impact you know, who we choose to give to.
We decide who we want to give to on a nonprofit level strictly based on what people do. We see what they do. We don't ask about percentages or salaries, because we see in the communities the contributions that are made. You realize that these numbers by themselves don't mean anything. So this nonprofit, when they first asked me to join in my own community, and I saw their financial statement, I said, holy moly, how can they operate like this? Except once you are there, you realize many of the services can't be calculated quantitatively because there is no money outlay.
At the same time, I think you're going to see government more and more proving to the taxpayers with statements like that they are only investing in organizations that meet certain criteria. In Connecticut right now in arts and culture, we're facing a complete shakeup of the way that we're going to be receiving grants, and it all has to do with impact and proving impact in the community and really aligning with statewide goals, which is job building and having impact on economic development. That's the bottom line for the state, and in terms of nonprofits and receiving from the state, we are going to have to figure out ways to align with that and prove our case in terms of those, you know, those kinds of goals for the state. So I think it's sending a message to your taxpayers. Yes, we're using your money well. Times are tough, and we need to prove to you with certain criteria that we're you know, we're spending it correctly. To other people,
and so are your proven donors effective at bringing new money to the table, or could they do better on that front? Because again, that's what the Gates Foundation was all about, and that's what really served as a bigger inspiration than the actual dollars being awarded.
Always could do better, you know, absolutely, and I think that's often the struggle at the board level and the wider circles of a board level is how to take that responsibility and feel good about it and to expand the circles. So
it's a very difficult comparison. I mean, if you look at Bill Gates and Microsoft, when they give, it's $750 million at one time, and they have the resources to do that. The United States considers a corporation equal to an individual, to a person, as far as the overall rights under the Constitution. So with that right, with those civil liberties that corporations have, there comes a certain level of responsibility. And that responsibility isn't to give. It's something that corporations would want to do if they're going to be good corporate citizens and good, you know, corporate persons in that sense. So, you know, how do you leverage? Well, you know, we don't ask other people, and other people don't ask us.
In this corporate world, when we're talking about corporations, many of them have reduced their giving strategies to such a degree that they're very specific, and it's not necessarily leverageable to another corporation or another individual. So it's complicated.
But the more that you kind of put yourself out there, I don't know whether it's a keeping up with the Joneses piece, but the more that you do, and I think if you find satisfaction in it and actually talk about it amongst your peers, they tend to jump on board as well. The synergy in that enthusiasm behind a cause is leveraging.
If there was a substantial less amount of tax dollars going into the nonprofit sector, what would it mean for those nonprofits in Connecticut and New York?
I think the devil is in the details. We run a helpline, 211. Many of you use it. And we have found that those who look at the details of who the state government, which for-profit or nonprofit the state government has used in the past, have found that a lot of money, tax dollar money, has been wasted on whether it be a toll-free number of 10 toll-free numbers, rather you could just use a simple number, whatever the issue is. I think the government really needs to spend some time looking inward. Really, it's not easy enough to say there is a public sector and a private sector and a not-for-profit sector, and the public sector should just take care of the people. That's too simple. Many nonprofits do it better, more efficiently, less expensively, using different techniques that can't be done in a public sector. Other times, the public sector needs to deal with things. In the disaster relief area is the most concrete way to see who should be doing what. And so I think it's extremely important not to make generalizations when it comes to what tax dollars should be used to fund. And the role of the not-for-profit very often is to do it better or in partnership with, so that there are better results.
And I sit on the board of directors of the Stanford YMCA. And if we did not depend on these government grants that we are always looking into, we wouldn't be able to survive.
In my educational life, I was actually in a unique situation where I worked for a public school district, but we served a private agency called Children's Village. So I got to see, as a superintendent, I really got to see both sides, and I couldn't agree with you more. Good leadership is good leadership is good leadership, and barring those unfortunate examples which set standards that can destroy systems, if you need good leaders, you can't have good services without good leadership. And if you want good leadership, you're going to have to pay for it because it's a competitive market. And with good leadership, what you're going to end up is getting good services, and then what you really need to look at is the outcomes. You know, is this an organization that's doing what it says it's going to do for whatever its service is, and is it measurable, and is there someone that's following that and tracking that? So I think it's about the leadership, and you need to accept the reality of paying for it within the reasonable bounds of ethical behavior.
We receive about $1.5 million from Westchester County government. We leverage that by $120 million. If we did not have government support, I think a lot of folks would say, well, how come Westchester isn't supporting what you do? When we go out to PepsiCo,
Yeah, I was just going to say.
She said, yeah, I was just going to say that. You know, and PepsiCo has been an important supporter of ours. Con Edison has. I'm going to mention my friend over there, Al Del Bello, who, when he was county executive, put into effect a private-public partnership, which is how Westchester County has not only sustained the arts in Westchester, but has grown the arts and into a truly magnificent array of services in film and exhibitions in theater that is second to none.
I think we're just becoming much more realistic about partnerships and how we can leverage all kinds of partnerships to accomplish our mission. And I think that's a good thing for people who are willing to contribute in all kinds of ways.
In the past, used to just go to the food bank of Westchester. We would all volunteer and give money. But the last year, they said, look, we need a different kind of help. So they came to us, not for the conventional, normal things we did in the past, but to help them become more efficient. So we send engineers in there, we send accountants in there, and help them take their processes and automate them, computerize them, and use scanners and various other things that contributed in that way. So that's the kind of partnership that she's talking about.
We work with a lot of different companies. IBM's a great example. They know social networking, they understand project management, they can do seminars. Salesforce, we work with banks to try to get them to you were talking about leveraging relationships. Well, we have to learn sales just like you do. And so what we've been doing is trying to work with corporations as well as large, small businesses, it doesn't matter, to make sure that our employees get the training at as low cost as possible so that the donations are not being used for that, but also to get out to the public to say every single person in the community, whatever business they have and whatever individual life they lead, they have something that is a gift in kind that they could use. They just have to hear about how to get it to wherever it needs to go.
You know, nonprofits are very dependent on individual gifts, and particularly at high net worth individuals, and that, as Congressman Himes said, you know, again, it's complicated because these things get wound in with other issues and with other bills, but this is one that could have a tremendous impact on us. And as other sources of funding are reduced, I think, you know, we're always going to be focused on the individual, and we're all cultivating and want to have those individuals that benefit, and we believe that they will reduce what they give if you know, the charitable deductions is reduced. So.
If you go anywhere else in the world, the government spends so much more to deliver services to the people, and the taxes are higher. You come to America, where there is a whole understanding in our culture that you are supposed to give to charity, and by the way, there's a tax incentive to do so. If you get rid of that, then you're going to have to increase taxes in order to pay for all of those donations that were not made voluntarily. All of us, by paying our taxes, are helping deliver service. That's the way the world is. But it's so strange to me that that those who are in government saying, let's just get rid of this so that we can raise more taxes, don't see that if you get rid of an incentive to give, you're going to have to pay for more within the governmental sector. The hungry people in this community are not going away. 1 out of 5 of them in this entire community are hungry. The people who are homeless, the people who need medical transportation, the people who need to be inspired by the arts to have a great life, to graduate, to have a great career, they need all of us to thrive, not to be de-incentivized. So it is the great irony of the last couple of years that people are talking about. That's how we're going to raise taxes or generate more money, by getting rid of this tax incentive. It's crazy.
We believe we have a vision for America. It is a vision that includes a certain kind of lifestyle, as well as a care for those less fortunate in our community. And we have kind of a balanced way of approaching that, with some government support and with some charitable support and some incentives to do that, to do the right thing. If we get rid of one, there will be a burden on the other.
I think social media marketing is critical for them. It's been critical for Domus and myself on a local level, but it just puts your name out there to so many people for in-kind donations, for volunteer help. It raises a ton of awareness.
I think you need to stay current, and also, again, know your businesses that you're working with. And Naomi, wasn't it you that talked about you need to know a little bit about sales as well? So basically, exactly. So, you know, when you're penetrating an organization, it's about building relationships, but not with one person, but across the organization and connecting the dots.